There was a proposal at one point in time at CEDIA to call us CEDIans. And they thought that was going to take off. Your look of surprise was nothing compared to mine in the board meeting when someone brought up CEDIans.
CEDIans. Oh, that's too bad that didn't gain any ground.
I demand to know who wrote this script.
CEDIA Expo is coming, and CEDIA is working hard to get technology integrator as a recognized occupation. Value Electronics TV shootout has two kings, and after 7 years of development, Trinnov Audio's waveforming room optimization is public. All that and more coming up on ResiWeek. ResiWeek episode 445. Welcome to ResiWeek for August 19th, 2024. My name is Patrick Norton. I'm in for Matt Scott, and we have a fun group for you today. Dave Pedigo, the COO of Trinnov Audio. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Katye McGregor-Bennett, CEO of K&B Communications. Katye, are you excited to be here today?
I can't even stand still. I am that excited.
And Seth Johnson, Software Development Manager at BlackWire. Seth, how are you holding up?
Doing great. I'm glad to be here.
I feel like if you're developing software, you're probably glad to be anywhere other than staring at a monitor, furiously trying to figure out what just happened when the code ran that time.
What went wrong? Right. Why is the server down again?
What happened? What is going on here? One of the classic debates in AV, whether you're talking about commercial or residential, is where our employees come from, how are they trained, what are the standards, who support them. CEDIA, of course, has been a strong proponent of people in the basically elevating the community, elevating the standards, and they're now working to establish the Technical Integrator Occupational Code within the Standard Occupational Classification, or SOC system, which is a lot of sibilance for one sentence for me as far as I'm concerned. The U.S. government announced, and this is up on restechtoday.com if you wanted to look at the larger article, but one of the things they talked about is the U.S. government announcing the review of the 2018 SOC for potential revision in 2028, because apparently jobs don't change that quickly, and once a decade review is enough. I see a whole lot of faces if you're watching on video. If you're not, the faces here, I think consternated might be a general functional thought. Dave, Seth, Katye, how do you feel about technology integrator actually being recognized as a job instead of maybe the more generic technician?
Surprise, surprise. I'm going to jump in first, but only because I spent 14 years at CEDIA and spent a lot of time with Darren Riemann, who is their, I believe, Senior Director of Legislative Affairs, is his official title. I think probably the most powerful person in the industry that nobody knows of. CEDIA has been working for a very, very, very long time in regards to just legislation in general. And so one of the things that they always kind of go back to when they have to fight bills is the SOC code. But the other part of it is, and I'm a little detached from the association now, but they brought in Daryl Friedman. He's the CEO of the association. He was a lobbyist before then. So no surprise to see him having connections in the government and working this way. The beauty of it, I think, if everything goes as to plan, would be increased access in education at the younger levels to be able to get that pipeline of students coming up. It's been a long, very difficult slog, because you think of it's not just every state, but it's also local municipalities as well. And so starting at the federal level, getting recognized as an occupation code is really a good thing. Will it affect the day-to-day operations of the CEDIA dealers anytime soon? No, probably not. However, I think it's an important mission and ultimately might be able to make it easier to have what CEDIA has been trying for many, many, many years, which is to develop a well-qualified workforce.
I don't think anybody's going to develop the idea of developing a more qualified workforce. Katye, Seth, do you have anything to add on this?
I from a communicator's perspective, and everything that Dave said is absolutely spot on. I think from my area of expertise as a communicator, I think what this does is it will help us create a more level playing field of understanding what the job is that encompasses what the industry does. And for so long, there have been a number of different terms and phrases for insert, technology integrator, technician, installer, AV guy. As an AV gal, that AV guy kind of, I don't know, just kind of drives me a little crazy. And I think I've got some other supporters that have a problem with that as a generalized phrase or a term that refers to the work that's done here. It's also really limiting. The work that is done by this industry is much more expansive. And we're not just an individual role or responsibility. So I think what this does is it opens up the conversation to more of what the industry can do and what we're capable of doing. And more importantly, it aligns us with the other trades. I call them the adjacent trades, allied trades, however you want to phrase them. Understanding that what an integrator does and using that term on a regular day-to-day basis in the course of their work to refer to what we do here. We desperately need this, regardless of the SOC code and everything that goes along with it. Just getting a more generalized understanding of what the integration community does and what an integrator does, I think that's an absolute win. We have to cross this line in order to get to the other side and to get to the good stuff on the other side. And there's just so much confusion about what we do in the industry, and it's a huge step. And if we can nail it this time, we won't have to wait another 10 years to revisit what are we calling ourselves,
is, Yeah. Well, the other thing is, first of all, I'll go back to what calling ourselves in a minute. Sorry, I'm jumping in a second time. Is I think that this ultimately might make it easier to develop true apprenticeship programs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is probably not a bad thing. I think we're finally seeing in the U.S. a understanding that not everybody needs to go to college, that trade schools are good, those kind of things. And so ultimately, this might be able to help develop that. And just so you know, Katie, there was a proposal at one point in time at CEDIA to call us CEDIans. And we thought that was going to take off. I can promise you that your look of surprise was nothing compared to mine in the board meeting when someone brought up CEDIans.
CEDIans. Oh, that's too bad that didn't gain any ground. That's too bad. Thanks for enlightening us, Dave. Wow.
How that came up as an idea to brand an entire industry's labor force. I've been in board meetings. I am fascinated and slightly horrified by that. Seth, you've been pretty quiet during this. Do you just not even want to touch this?
No, these are great
Coming
points.
from the world of software development, which is so easy to sum up in a single title.
Oh yeah,
he said.
Sure. It all great points here, and it kind of I do have a longer background as an integrator than I do as a software developer or anything like that. But I mean, it's technology integrator would be a nice label to slap on the jack of all trades that we are when we are going in and dealing with literally anything and everything, but between lighting control, water, plumbing, like you name it. There's not a trade that exists on the job site that an integrator doesn't converse with or talk to or have to work with at some point to get their job done. And so it would be nice to see all this, as well as the education parts where we're getting more people coming into the industry as a legitimate trade rather than, I've got a TV mount and a TV to hang, and that's where I'm starting my career here. I've been listening to some of the CEDIA podcasts, and it would have been really nice had some of these education initiatives existed, 20 years ago when I got started, where I didn't have to learn the very, very hard way on how to do a lot of these things. If it was summarized in a book or told to me in an education class, that was more of an industry standard thing to do. It would have certainly been a lot easier of a career to navigate.
It's always amazing once things actually start getting laid down and there's a structure, how much more open and easy it is to actually bring people into the industry. Overall, it's interesting because I spend a lot of time dealing with the corporate side of things on AV, and it's still staggering how many people don't actually know this massive industry actually exists and has some really fantastic jobs that really need to be filled. Again, as everybody I think has mentioned, without needing incredibly expensive or an incredibly inexpensive college degree. We wait with bated breath and high hopes that it gets in this year, and we don't have to wait till 2028.
Before we jump off of that, we should do a quick PSA to anybody listening in. You will have received something from CEDIA suggesting that if you agree with this, that you should let your voice be heard. And there's a link. Just click it. You literally don't have to do anything else than click the link and then click submit. The rest of the work has been done for you. It's one of the easiest things you'll have to do. Please share your voice if you agree that this should be done.
Get to it, CEDIans.
Sorry, just real quick, and this is a plug for CEDIA, which is I don't think enough people understand the value that legislative affairs brings to the industry as a whole. And I've heard way too many people, who would say, well, I don't need to join a member, someone else, they're going to do it anyways. That money is really important. Your membership really helps. And I can guarantee you that many, many people don't realize that the work, particularly that Darren has done over years, has kept companies in business. So it's important.
Yep.
Duly noted. Ladies and gentlemen, check the show notes for a link if you don't have one. And of course, if you're a CEDIA member, you should go search your email and find it. Make Katie happy. Make Dave happy. Make Seth happy. Just save the industry, please. Got to do it yourself.
2 clicks at a time.
Shifting gears massively, Value Electronics did its annual TV shootout, selecting a king of OLED TV and a king of mini LED TVs. OLED and overall quality still wins out. And I'm going to try to say the rest of the consonants in this without stumbling over myself. 6 displays in TV shootout, 3 mini LEDs on one side of the room, 3 OLEDs grouped together. If you're not familiar with Value Electronics, they essentially gather what they consider to be the best candidates they do a projector shootout to for the best residential display. This was all 65-inch televisions. They separated mini LEDs and OLEDs for obvious reasons. One delivers the best results in dark rooms, and one works a lot better in rooms where there is ambient light. Not that OLEDs don't, they looked at LG's G4, Samsung's S95D, Sony's A95L on the OLED side, and LG's QNED90T, Samsung's Q995D, and Sony's XR90 on the mini LED side of things. And I was not surprised that the overall quality was won by OLEDs, but it's shocking how much better mini LED TVs have gotten in the last couple of years. I get nerdly and excited about legitimate contrast measurements because I'm that kind of nerd. Is anybody surprised at this point that Sony and LG are on the top of the pile for this one?
What is nice is that they all sound like they're pretty good TVs. Like, you got so many good options these days, I think.
Yeah, I would say a little, just a wee bit. And just that it's nice to see Sony creeping back up because for a long time you saw Samsung and LG really kind of being the leaders. So it's nice to see Sony creep back up.
And I should correct myself. Actually, Sony was on the top of the pile for both OLED and mini LED TVs, but they beat Samsung by the tiniest of margins on the overall scoring. Actually, they beat Samsung on the tiniest of margins on the OLED side too, and LG trailed considerably in both categories, which I was kind of surprised with OLED TVs, although Sony's processing is pretty fantastic. Do you guys, and this is probably not the best group to ask this question, do you guys see, monitor upgrades or updates in the residential market pretty steady at this point? Is it advancing, or are people just waiting to figure out how to con their spouse into getting a larger TV whenever they can make that particular demand?
I've talked too much, so I'll let one of you guys answer.
Katie worked hard to make that non-gender oriented, by the way.
I know. That was really, really well navigated. And I so wanted to jump in and say, but we're almost getting to that time of year where it's spouse cutting time. It's almost TV buying season. Honey, I don't know what, but the picture's diminished. We're going to need a new one, and we should have this Sony.
The cat pulled it down off the shelf.
Yeah, well, that's what happened at Dave's house. If you look over his shoulder, obviously the cat pulled his TV off.
Yeah. Actually, I have now switched. I am actually using my 65-inch TV as my computer monitor in my office. So that was where I had my regular monitors, but I was like, the hell with it. Why don't I just see something in all its glory, and it works great.
Have you found yourself with the tennis match effect while working with that monitor?
No, I sit kind of far back. If I wasn't on a podcast, I'd slide my desk back, and yeah, no, it's fine.
Copy that.
But just going back to the question, I just think it's a natural cycle. The TVs these days don't last as long as the other ones do. I'm not as what would I say? Skeptical about planned obsolescence, those kind of things. But I do think that in general, they don't last as long, and so yeah. And Katie's right that people. Now that they've got, what is it, 80-inch or 85-inch OLEDs, those kind of things, that it's, bigger is better for many people.
As somebody who's had a projector in his house with a 100 or 110-inch screen for a very long time, I will say I was the motivator on that one, Katie, but when my wife saw her favorite BBC coverage of Pride and Prejudice and was able to actually make out the patterns in the walls on the Blu-ray, she suddenly became very enthusiastic about the whole projector lifestyle. That and the fact that the screen disappeared and the children would forget we had a television because the screen disappeared when we stopped watching a movie. But it has been interesting to watch the quality and the price. The quality go up and the price go down on the really massive ones. We should probably also mention CEDIA's coming up. And we're going to talk about, Dave, one of the things you guys are working on that's coming out are going to be made famous at CEDIA. The other thing is the whole CEO Pro did a whole article talking about the lifestyle TVs, the TVs that turn into art. If I were feeling sassy, I might say the CDs, the televisions that run 24 hours a day, thus guaranteeing that they have the minimal lifespan because they're running 24/7 if you don't set them to auto program them to shut down in the evenings. Monitor lifespan and turning monitors off is a hobby horse of mine. You guys don't know that because you guys don't know me that well, but I'll just walk away from that. Are any of you running one of these televisions at home or running anything that you kind of use as art or style in the background? Or is this just something that's more aspirational and not your thing?
I mean, I like the idea. I don't think it would work. It might work in my house, like for to have it disappearing and moving away. We use our TV in the morning kind of as like a countdown clock to get out the door to school. But it has like the calendars and things on it as well. So we can kind of like look up there and see what the day is like. And I think it's useful for that kind of signage. I don't know. I kind of wonder what we would do if we had this style of TV in our house as well. It could fit in, but I don't know. Typically to get that, you sacrifice on the performance, right? So yeah, I'd rather have that if I'm going to pay a lot for a TV than at least in my book, than having it look good.
I think this is the story here is not necessarily the story that was written. I think that for me, I'm passionate about the intersection of design and technology. What the frame TV has done for us in the industry, it's awakened adjacent trades to understanding that a TV does have a place in a design forward application, whether that's residential or commercial. There are more designers in my circle that know about the frame TV than they know about any other TV on the planet, have ever cared about any other TV on the planet. They just know that they can recommend a frame TV and their clients are going to love them because it's not a TV. It's something that produces an image, but it also produces art. And it has this, hold on, wait for it, frame around it. Now, I think Seth's perfectly timed snicker. There are a lot of other brands that create frames for TVs that don't sell the frame TV. I'm not shifting away necessarily from Samsung, but what I'm trying to narrate here is that this is an entry point that allows us on the integration side and the integration community to say, yes, I'm glad you've heard about that. But there are different ways to do what you're trying to accomplish that might have a bigger image, a better image, might be more applicable to your environment, might look a little bit better on the wall, all the things. So I like this story, but I think the bigger story is that we're starting to reach a point where there is an appetite for making a pretty TV. And we actually, as an industry, have lots of options for making TVs prettier. There are brands like Leon that are already doing it for a lot of different. They're not the only ones, but I have an interest in Leon, so I know exactly what they're doing.
But can't they make the
it's
nicer?
it's not a brand point. It's a, TV can be art, and then what you put on the TV can also be art. And that's the thing that Samsung has done. But there are a lot of other companies that provide digital art that you can run on your TV.
I think a lot of people grossly underestimate, and you don't even have to be deeply into design to find it really irritating that this massive block, 65, 75-inch block on your wall is a big gaping black space that just sits there annoying people. And it can really, really look obnoxious if you have a particularly sophisticated design in your living room, or even not.
Well, I mean, we were looking at TVs the other day because, funny enough, it's lightning strike season here in Florida, and that's what you get, new TVs. But we had one die, and we were kind of looking around at Costco and seeing one of the things. And we have a fairly newish LG. I say newish, which in the last, I don't know, 5 years we bought this TV. But we were looking at the new Sonys and Samsungs and the OLEDs in the front of Costco. And my wife was like, wow, they really are. They look so much better. They have really thin bezels around them and everything. And I just wish that we could get like that with the frame TV, that the performance out of the OLED that we just talked about. Like, I just want that inside the frame TV, not necessarily with the matte finish on it. I would just like maybe a convergence somehow where they can get performance plus whatever they're doing, maybe a lower tier or something that they can turn on and have that work as a picture frame. Kind of, I don't know, downgrade the signal. I'm not sure like how they would do it, but like it would be interesting to see how they could put something like that together.
I think there's a lot of opportunities on that one, but we'll see how that evolves over the next couple of years. I'll be curious actually to hear if any new developments in that area come out at CEDIA. Speaking of which, I'm going to put Dave on the spot here. I'm going to twist his arm a little bit.
Oh, no.
For those of you who can't remember the opening of the show, he is the COO of Trinnov. And Trinnov's waveforming is now publicly available and will be on display, I believe, at CEDIA. You guys gonna have a demo room there?
Yeah, so we've shown we showed waveforming at CEDIA last year. So we've shown it at ISE several years. Actually, this is probably going to be the last time that we demo the kind of massive demo that we do at CEDIA for some time. And we're doing it with Perlison, Barco. We're going to have a Barco Nerthus, which is going to just be incredible, 30,000 lumens. Going to be absolutely incredible. Best demo that we've had for sure. We're really excited about it. Every year we have to build the booth in Italy, put it all together, check it out, make sure we're happy with it, take it down, ship it over. So it's a lot of effort. And so we're really excited. We do have public hours, but they're limited. So each day, I think it's about 3 hours that it's open to the public, and then the rest of the time there'll be private demos. So the big news is that we showed it at Expo last year, and we really honed in on the software. So now anybody who owns an Altitude, even if you bought it in 2015. You can go ahead and get waveforming on there if you like. There are a couple, if you have a really old system, there's a couple hardware things that you might have to have adjusted. But besides that,
one is somebody who's dealt with consumer electronics and covering them. Thank you for bringing it to older products, or thank you for having enough, high-end hardware inside the product that years and years later, right? Because you guys have been working on this for 7 years.
Yeah, the software algorithm. I mean, the biggest thing about the guys that work at Trinnov is the fact that they're mathematicians and people who understand signal processing. So we've been working on this for many, many, many years. And the three founders of the company are very environmentally focused, and so it means a lot to them that they can produce a product that you want to upgrade to HDMI 2.1. No problem. Anytime we create a new discovery, new scientific discovery, we'll put it out in our software. There's no cost for it. It's free. And so it's pretty cool for sure.
Very cool. That is available to the public now? People can upgrade it to it now. It's shipping on new products?
Yep. All new products will have the the software available. The only thing is you have to have 4 subwoofers, 2 in the front, 2 in the back as a minimum, or else they just won't give you the option. But, well, you say that, and
You should.
just
I don't
for a
think
second-
anybody said anything.
Nope.
Dave just reacted to my facial expression.
Yeah.
My home theater sits in one corner of a I don't know, 6,000 cubic foot basement. And I mention this because I may have a little, what many people would consider excess subwooferage, but actually works to excite the air in this massive, box full of, air. So I would like to have 4 subwoofers. Even I could not manage to make that fit in the space I have without either getting rid of the cats, the laundry equipment, or the bookshelves, all of which are non-starters.
Well, they don't
I mean, a
have
case
to
could
be
be
as
made.
big as you think. So the difference is at 6,000 cubic feet, you need big subwoofers because that's a lot of air to move. But you don't really, like I have in this tiny little, Harry Potter, room under the stairs room. I've got 4 12-inch subwoofers, works great.
Right.
It's just that basically, I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want this to be preachy, but just know that you 4 subwoofers, CEDIA, since 2007, we've been recommending 4 subwoofers. It's not about the volume. It is about the physics of the wavelengths in the room.
I'm not stopping you because I think everyone should know that multiple subwoofers allows you to have a larger suite space. It may not be finely attuned as the subwoofers on a single seat, but you can actually have more people not have a boomy and ugly bass experience. So by all means, run on this all day until Mitchell jumps in here and gets angry. But I don't think it's self-serving at all. I had to explain to someone recently why they couldn't put their rear surround channels in front of the primary listening position. So I'm all for the education. This audience probably doesn't need it that much.
Just remember, everybody wins with more subwoofers. That's key we got to take away from you.
As long as they're not tuned like the kid with the Buick with the 15-inch subwoofer rolling around at the back, blowing his trunk loose.
He just needs a Trinnov. That's what I've learned from this.
That's the only thing missing from that scenario. If you just had a Trinnov up in that car, it'd be no problem. Wouldn't rattle the license plate frame, which drives me crazy.
This seems like a natural point to ask everyone where they can be found at CEDIA. Dave?
Well, at CEDIA, you can find me at booth 2938. The nice thing is we're right next to the CEDIA booth. So if you don't want to look for numbers, you can find the CEDIA booth. We're right next to it.
There you go. Katie?
At CEDIA Expo, because those little details matter. Got to say CEDIA Expo. That's the show. CEDIA is the organization. And particularly when you're talking about where's Dave going to be at CEDIA. Dave's not going to be at CEDIA. Dave's going to be at CEDIA Expo. Dave, come on. Dave just threw his pen at me. Abuse. So at CEDIA Expo, I'm going to be all over the place. KMB Comms has 13 accounts on the show floor and 15 accounts there. So it's already, I'm losing hair by the minute, but I'm going to be all over the place. I get there on Monday, leave on Saturday. So I'll see all of you guys around the show floor at the events. Day of Discovery is a big thing on Thursday. I'll be a big part of that. CEDIA Awards on Friday night. The short list went out today. So if you guys have not checked your email, all of the finalists were announced today for the Americas. So that's where I'll be on Friday night, and then Saturday cruising the floor and catching up with everybody before they all swing out, hit the road.
Seth, will you be at CEDIA Expo? And if you are, how can people find you?
I'll be at CEDIA Expo at booth 2938 asking Dave for a demo. Our booth is 3537 over at BlackWire. We'll be showing off our blacklight LED design tool, network provisioning service that we have out now to basically allows our customers to pre-configure. We do all the pre-configuring and updating and all that stuff of Ruckus and Netgear networks for them. So you can get those turnkey. We also have the turnkey AV over IP systems. Got product demonstrations. We got some training sessions as well lined up. So lots going on at BlackWire 3537.
There you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Patrick Norton in for Matt Scott this week. He'll be back next week. If you haven't subscribed to ResiWeek, do me a favor, search for it on your favorite podcatcher. And a big thanks go out to Dave, Katie, and Seth for joining me on the podcast today. Appreciate your patience. And hopefully I will figure out a way to sneak to CEDIA and see all of what y'all are doing there. Thanks, everybody.
the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.